is Faye and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a space where we talk all things thrift shopping, sustainability, ethical fashion, fashion history, because I'm a total geek for that stuff. And it's also a space where we can really tap into our creativity, our inner designer, our inner stylist, and really innovate and have fun with fashion that's already in existence. And of course, that's good for people and planet. So if that's your vibe, I think you're gonna like it around here. I am also the self-published author of this little baby, Opshopulence, my Thrift Bible that I put together during lockdown actually. And this is a real shapeshifter. I want it to change the narrative around secondhand and pre-loved fashion, to see it as decadent and opulent. That's how I came up with the name. In Australia, we call thrifting op shopping. So I took the word op shop and opulent and created my own word. And it's really not just about decadence and luxury from a monetary or visual or aesthetic perspective. It's about what this kind of fashion can do. Because to me, fashion that is really purpose-driven is the future of fashion. Fashion that supports people, that supports community, that supports planet. So when you're thrifting, a lot of the time, the money that you're spending is going straight back into the mission of a charity. So say for example, Salvos stores or the Salvation Army. I'm in one of my favorite local stores and it's near the airport, so it can be a bit noisy. Apologize if you hear kind of low rumbles of aeroplanes and things, but this is such a good store. It's kind of like a shopping center, really. It's a supermarket. It's huge. But everything in here, all these clothes serve a purpose. So when you shop here, that money goes straight into supporting people who are doing it tough. Things like drug and alcohol addiction, homelessness, domestic violence. So our fashion really can be that powerful. And that's the core ethos of what Opshopulence is. And if I do say so myself, it's a pretty good read. But for now, let's talk about Fashion Month. So on my Instagram and my TikTok recently, I've been doing a series, Fashion Month, but make it thrifty. So looking at all the trends, looking at all the runway shows during Fashion Week, Fashion Month. So Fashion Month is literally fashion weeks all over the world. So New York, London, Paris, Milan, Shanghai, Tokyo. It's just this like extravaganza. To me, I always call it like the most magical time of year, even better than Christmas, because you get to see what's happening for the next year in fashion. I love looking at the runway shows. I love reading the reviews on the designer shows because that gives me a real insight into their thought process, which really inspires me when I'm thrifting. But the thing I love the most is the street style. So the Vogue Runway app is probably one of my favorite portals to go to. It's got all the shows and there's a whole section on there with the street style from all over the different fashion weeks. And to me, that's where the real fashion is. Seeing how people interpret it, seeing how they take trends and make it their own. Different body shapes, different ages, different sizes, different ethnicities. It's just such a beautiful melange of, or mix of culture and fashion storytelling, and I'm so into it. So there's been 4 trends that I've spoken about so far, and I started speaking about it during New York Fashion Week, which was the first one, but I'm seeing them translate into every single destination. And I think they're really great trends because they're really achievable, they're really easy, and they're really timeless. And here's the thing about trends, right? It's an interesting word because it sort of encourages you or makes you think that you need to buy stuff to keep up with those trends, right? But for me, I just really take those trends as a little nuance or an idea for me to dive into my own creativity, to look at what I have in my wardrobe and also what I could find in a thrift store. You save a ton of money and you're going to be really high on individuality because it's very rare that you find multiples of things in a thrift store. So you really can take that trend and make it your own. If you ask me, thrifting is the trend because it really allows you to be creative and dream up your own interpretation of certain trends. But let's talk about the 4 ones that I've really been vibing on so far. The first trend I want to dive into is neo-bohemian. So we all know the classic bohemian, right? So think Stevie Nicks. Gorgeous flowy dresses, dreamy hair, crystals, feathers, tassels, cowboy boots, lots of layered necklaces. I really dig that. But sometimes it can be hard to sort of wear that en masse, right? So the neo-bohemian takes a little dash of that bohemian spirit, that Western spirit, that cowboy kind of nod, and makes it modern. So think a simple t-shirt and a slip dress, but with cowboy boots, or a fantastic Western shirt with just simple relaxed denim, or even a cowboy hat, but then just a men's suit. So it's that little dash, that little nuance of bohemian and a Western spirit, but it's wearable and it's so easy to inject into your wardrobe. Let's take this Western shirt that I found at Salvos stores online. So if you're in Australia, you can actually thrift from the comfort of your couch, which is a total vibe, salvostores.com.au. But if you're overseas, there are lots of different online thrift portals as well. I mean, a huge one is ThredUp, right? But there's lots of other destinations that you can tap into as well. And I think thrifting online can be a great way to just dip your toe if you're a bit overwhelmed by a thrift store, but we can do another video on that very soon. So back to the Western shirt. Found it online, 25 bucks. It's actually a heritage brand from like 1905 or 1908, I believe, Scully Leather. So they started out back in the day producing quality leather goods, and then they moved into apparel. And they do these classic cowboy shirts with the trimming, the pearl popper buttons, amazing. So as soon as I saw that, I grabbed it because the original shirts are over $200. So this is another great example of finding that trend secondhand and sustainably. And when I looked at some of the runway shows, I saw that everywhere, especially Tom Ford. There was a shirt that was literally exactly like mine. So it just goes to show you that the thing with thrifting is that there's so many different eras and trends and demographics in here. You really can find so many different options. The other thing that really caught my eye with the neo-bohemian trend is that it's birthed from the desire to want to highlight artisan culture. So think about all those skilled crafts that really have become a dying breed. Embroidery, patchwork, leather crafting, all of those talented local skilled artisans. When you support and shop those brands as well, that's a wonderful way to dive into your opulence. And there was one show in particular, I'm just looking at the Vogue Runway app. So I get it on my phone and I can just instantly look at the shows, read the reviews, and get a real feel for what's going on. So this one show in particular in New York, Who Decides War? So they collaborated with a young artisan and they did all this fantastic patchworking. I'll put some images up on the screen so you can see, but there was just like all these classic pieces like denim and just kind of like hoodies and just simple things, but embellished with all of this beautiful artisan craft, and I just loved it. The next trend I'd love to muse on is metallics. Now, I think coming into the festive season, the metallic trend is a given, right? But what I love about it this time around is that it's focusing on more muted metallics, if that's a thing, but like gold, silvers, bronzes, really simple palettes that you can embellish with, contrasting kind of classic pieces like a suit jacket. For me, I also love the idea of shining anytime. Like, why can't we bedazzle and be bright any time of the day? It doesn't have to be just put aside for a special occasion. The occasion is that we're alive, right? That we're existing, and that should be celebrated. The show that really stood out for me in terms of this metallic trend was the Gabriella Hearst. Oh my gosh, there were so many things I loved about this show. It was set to an incredible gospel choir. That got me straight away. It was just so different because it was raw and it was live and it was just very emotive. And she took the metallics and made it really wearable. So very simple pieces like just a black slip dress with a great gold coat, not so simple, but that beautiful contrast of high and low. The models were really diverse. There was even an amputee model in there who I believe was affected by toxic shock syndrome. And so within the show, there was these other beautiful stories of diversity and inclusivity and sustainability. And that's another thing I talk about in my book. You know, so many pockets of the fashion industry have been forgotten. People living with disabilities, you know, different shapes, different sizes. And I've seen a real shift in this fashion month and Australian Fashion Week too. The tables really are turning. I think we still have a long way to go, but it's great to see that so many different walks of life are being celebrated. And I think this kind of juxtaposed with this brightness and these beautiful metallics really drove that home for me. I found a metallic bodysuit here at Salvos. It was like $10, and what I like to do is similar to the Gabriella Hirsch show, is use that metallic but then keep everything else simple. So just quite a muted palette. I wore it with a trench coat and a pleated skirt, both in the same color palette. And I think another great way to get into the trend is just with jewelry. So with brooches, you know, some great necklaces, beautiful earrings, or a glitzy handbag or a shoe. These are just little dashes that you can, you know, give a nod to that trend, but not get overwhelmed by it or not be doused in it. It's just that little offering. Okay, athluxury. Let's talk about it. You would have heard of athleisure thanks to our time during lockdown. So think sweats, think super comfy, super wearable, super relaxing. So athluxury is taking that idea, because I think even though we have more freedom now, I think we all got quite used to and enjoyed that comfort, right? So athluxury takes that idea and then adds these luxurious elements. One of the standout shows for me was Mons or Monse. I'm not sure how to say it, but they did this beautiful juxtapose of athletic and high glam. So the creative directors of Mons are also the creative directors of Oscar de la Renta. So normally they keep the two aesthetics separate, but for this show they brought them together, and it was just such a great combo. So think bucket hats and hoodies, but with full tulle skirts, or you know, a crop top and then these kind of like relaxed tracksuit pants, but then this fantastic jacket, you know, just really playing around with those two ways of getting dressed. And the other thing that I loved about that show was that attendance was by way of donation to City Harvest, which is a New York-based charity centered around food rescue from restaurants in New York City, and that money goes to people in need. So I think that's another really great thing to see, that these brands are thinking about that, and adding that element to their shows is really powerful. The other show that stood out for me in terms of the athluxury trend was the Tommy Now show. I was really vibing on the jerseys unexpectedly. I never thought I'd be into that, but I like the idea of that oversized, sporty men's feel. And I'm thinking for me, I'm looking out for one in the thrift store, and I'm going to crop it because I think that would look really cool over high-waisted pants, or you know, even over a slip dress. So again, it's just adding that little nod. But I really liked how he interpreted it, and the other thing that was gorgeous was all of the print clashing and the texture. And that's another great tip in terms of styling thrift clothing or secondhand pieces, is when you really play with contrast, texture, different proportions, it looks expensive, it elevates it. And so many people have always said to me, like, wow, where's that from? Because of that great color, texture, and contrast. So it's a great thing to do, is to really play around with that. And again, we can talk more about that and focus on that in another video. But yeah, check out those shows. And if you don't have the Vogue Runway app, I highly suggest downloading it. Okay, the radio's kicked in this thrift store, so please excuse that. But the last trend I want to talk about is forever classics. It's not really a trend, but this is the beauty of this concept, forever classics, pieces that you gravitate towards time and time again. And they're so easy to thrift. Let's talk about what I'm wearing. All thrifted, simple white t-shirt, $4. Oscar de la Renta slip that I found at Salvos stores online. It's part of a set, absolutely gorgeous. And this is a vintage men's suit. Nino Cerruti, an incredible Italian designer. Be sure to Google him and do some more research because it's fascinating. And I think moving forward on my YouTube channel, I'm definitely going to dive more into the history of certain designers and share it with you, because it's fascinating and it really helps me get dressed and it really helps me connect to my clothes, which is such a powerful thing to do, because we really have lost a lot of that thanks to fast fashion and just the furious pace at which fashion rolls over. So this is part of a set, as I say, and it really took me on a journey. And I think just adding those pieces to your wardrobe are just such a great addition, because then you can use them as a canvas to create your own unique stamp, you know, accessorize with color or interesting accessories, or even the way that you wear your hair. But when you have those pieces, no matter whether you're a princess kind of style or a punk, you will gravitate to those forever classics time and time again. Simple slip dresses, neutral palettes, lots of interesting embellishment on classic pieces. If you check out the Dolce & Gabbana show, look at all of those jeans, like distressed and then embellished, amazing. But these are pieces that you can easily find in a thrift store and have some fun with, and they'll be pieces that you will keep season after season. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment, join me in the chats, tell me what else you'd like to see on my channel. I am new here, so I'm just learning the ropes, but I'm really thrilled about joining the YouTube family. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you really soon for the next one. Bye.